What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market and stock picks for March 3rd, 2022. So let's go ahead and get started. Your state of the market. Currently, right now, everything going on with Russia and Ukraine are essentially the same thing as far as the same news. There is no new news in that department that is giving a catalyst to the market to essentially buy or sell off at this point. Today was a big day. We had Powell on in front of the Senate talking about monetary policy. And as exciting as that sounds, there was a lot of very useful information in that uh, address that essentially Powell had with the Senate. He was essentially saying that inflation needs to be addressed now, that action will be taken next month, that pretty much bond buying will stop, and that at least a 25-point basis will be added. But he also said that he didn't want to get too aggressive, although he is not taking that off the table. He wants everybody to be well aware of that, which is something he keeps talking about, keeps reiterating. Things can change if inflation starts to get too carried away. Being said, a lot of what went on today showed a lot of strength in the market because that 25 basis point is something that has already been priced in. And if I said essentially if it was 50 points or lower, I think the market would run. And we got that lower expectation. And so the market became really bullish all of a sudden. Now we are at a critical level. This level needs to break. We've been bouncing off this 4,400 mark for a couple days now. We need to break out of that to ultimately to be bullish. We are still in a trend as well. So we have a trend line on the daily that we've been bouncing off and trying to break. But if we can break that 4,400 mark, I think we would break out of the trend. That's what I'm kind of looking for tomorrow. I want to see if the information we got from Powell today will essentially break us up over this and start getting us back in upwards momentum. Because what he stated today about that 25 point basis being essentially introduced in March is I don't even think he didn't even mention the fact that it was going to be in March. He said that they were going to talk about it happening, but I think the time frame is still something that they are debating. So that is a very bullish sign for tech. Tech has been leading. Tech has been holding up the market, especially over the last year and a half. A lot of tech has come into the SPX, and so being said, you want that to go up for the market to start really continuing on. Yes, the banks can do some of it, but you want your tech leaders to really start amping up and start pushing again. So that was very bullish news. Again, we have to differentiate the fact that the market is not what is going on in the world. And as horrible as everything that is going on in Ukraine and Russia, that is not the stock market. The stock market will continue up. Inflation, supply and demand issues are going to occur, but you're going to start seeing that later down the road. That isn't something that's imminent, right? That's something that happens later on once we start getting our Q2, Q3, and Q4 earnings. And we're going to start seeing that impact on what is happening currently. You're not going to see it right away. You may see some stuff right away, but you're not going to really see it again in these companies until further down the road, if that makes sense. Obviously, because once you start getting earnings, you start seeing how major of an impact. So some of that stuff has been priced in, right? I'm trying to understand that. That's why we had the big correction in the beginning of the year. But now it's kind of that correction is kind of overshot what they expected to happen because nobody really expected Russia and Ukraine to go at it, and then the way the whole year has already been playing out. So being said, again, a lot of that has already kind of been priced in. So at this point, the market is okay to start carrying on. The FOMC, I don't think is going to have as much of an impact unless the Fed starts to become more hawkish. So that's what we got out of today is essentially that we kind of got the, okay, well, this is what the plan is. Now we kind of understand, especially coming from the horse's mouth, Powell, we kind of understand where the market is going to go from this point, which is very bullish because we haven't had that for a while, for the past like 2 or 3 months. It has been very choppy, and nobody knows at all what is going on. So being said, that is a very bullish catalyst, and I think that will continue to push us up from this point forward. Now, again, the Russia-Ukraine thing, that is always a very delicate situation that's going on there. Something can change there very quickly, and it could make the markets start selling. But again, it needs to be something new. It can't be just the same old thing. Again, the market becomes numb to the same repetitive news. So when that news stops becoming repetitive and it's something fresh, then it will more dramatically affect the market, especially when it comes from left field and it isn't seen. That's when the fear really starts to hit. So that's where we are for there. I think, again, SPX, we want to see we open. If we can break that 4,400 tomorrow, I think we could have a very bullish day. We still have another day of Powell tomorrow, so you got to remember that. I don't think Powell's going to really state anything any different from that point. The market may not care. The market may be perfectly fine from what they heard today and just start running. The beige book came out, but this is another thing too, is the beige book came out. Powell had already given a lot of information, which we haven't had over a couple months now. He gave a lot of information in that, essentially, that conversation you had with the Senate today, to where everything else is kind of irrelevant from this point because the market kind of knows what's going to happen now. Powell came out and stated what was going to happen. Roughly, now the market is more prepared. Now the market's like, okay, well, now we got a buffer in. I think we're going to be okay. We kind of know where Powell's mindset is. Everything else, beige book came out. The market really didn't care. They're like, okay, well, we know Powell stands. Let's continue forward. So that's where we're at for the markets. Bitcoin, again, I think is a hedge on inflation. I think can really, again, get some major traction off what's going on in the market. But we're really watching this 45K mark. If we can break above this, which I'm really thinking we might actually, with everything that's going on right now, the way everything's setting up, Powell kicking the can kind of down the road as far as getting too hawkish at the moment. Again, it could change at any time. We've all been well aware of that. He's been telegraphing that since the beginning, that it could change at any moment. I think this is really going to start perhaps getting some gas this weekend. Bitcoin typically likes to move more into the weekend. So I think we are going to see a bigger move, even though we've got some of these bigger moves coming, these bigger candles coming up. And now I think this is going to, especially if the market pops, I think Bitcoin will run with it just as fast. And with everything now that we kind of got a clear headwind here, I think the market might actually have a pretty decent rally going into the February 16th meeting. Again, I think the market may be a little hesitant around there, but I think for a good solid week, we probably get a good run happening at this point. Again, unless something changes with Russia. So Bitcoin looking good. I'm looking forward to the next couple of days on that. A couple picks for tomorrow. Tesla, looks like we have a wedge break. Now, Tesla really needs to break this 890 mark. It has been a pain for Tesla, and it keeps getting rejected around that we'll go 890. It needs to break above that. You need to have a solid hourly candle break above that. And as long as it can hold that, I think this thing can really start running again. But this consolidation is good. This is normally what Tesla does. Normally, if you start getting multiple days, that means you're only going to have a more explosive move out of here. Again, you just want it to break before you get in it, because if you're sitting in it and it breaks the other way, if it's coming on the downside and you have a stop, that's perfectly fine. If you're on options, liquidity is a little bit of a different thing. Normally, options and shares or equity is pretty liquid for Tesla. But nonetheless, you're going to probably catch a little bit of burn on the way down before you can actually get out of option plays if it does come on this backside and just to start selling for no reason. But some of the other ones I'm looking at, so Tesla, you need to break that 890 mark. Again, the bottom floor on that one's essentially around that 845 mark. You don't want it breaking that, as the zone has been playing. Everything's been essentially been playing really tight ranges. I don't like really tight ranges. Even for scalping, it's not quite the best. But I like to have a lot smoother, bigger wide open moves, which don't happen all the time. They cycle. It's something you have to remind yourself is that those kind of moves don't happen all the time. We've been kind of spoiled over the past couple of years because we've got a lot more than normal. But Google's another big one. It's got a pretty decent range here. You can pick it up at a 26.67 mark. Again, that top range roughly around probably that 710 mark. So we can scoop it up on this bottom range, essentially holding that 200 EMA on the daily, and then pop above this. If we can get a solid pop above this, ultimately, when I'm talking about an hourly candle, you want that candle when it opens at the top of the hour to open above this. You're more likely you're going to get a pullback and retest on it. But as long as that holds, I mean, you can even get a wick down and pull back up and then start running. So you have to be mindful of that. You got to give it enough space to do that. This is where risk management comes into play. But then from that point, if it's solid hourly, it could really start ripping from that point. UPST is another big one. It's hitting this top. This 160 has been really hard for it to break. Again, if we get a break above the 164 mark tomorrow, again, hourly candle open above this and hold above this, UPST could have a massive run here. So this is another big one I've been watching and wanting to keep on watch going into the next coming days. Coin, I am in coin. I have actually shares in this because of the fact that I think Bitcoin is going to really rip. Coin is going to be part of that. Coin has kind of a delayed reaction. And if you ever notice that looking for ratios in stocks, Bitcoin normally has a very explosive move, and then coin has it's almost like a couple minute delay, and then it starts to tear off. It doesn't make quite as big as of explosive moves as Bitcoin, but it's essentially about half of what a Bitcoin move would be. So it's looking at that ratio and kind of determining if Bitcoin runs, 10K. How big of a move is that going to be for coin? And so that's something to watch moving up, because normally if Bitcoin runs that big, coin is right behind it. So coin is one I want to watch because of Bitcoin. As far as Amazon, I'm not a huge fan of Amazon. One I do want to keep an eye on is Shop. It is back in this 655 range. I might actually start picking up shares here only because I like the news that is coming out. Again, it's going to be hard with e-commerce because of the fact that supply chain issues are going to continue to be a problem. So more of your technology-based, your cloud-based, service-based companies, I think, are going to do better moving forward. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. So Shop is definitely one I want to watch. Again, I don't really want it back down here at the 589, but if we can hold essentially this 647 mark would be fantastic, especially for the reverse up. A big one I do want to watch is Airbnb. I had this nice breakout. I'm kind of looking to see if this will come back down and retest the 155 mark. So really keeping a tight eye on this. I do like this 151 level for Airbnb. I think it's one of the ones that definitely, when you're looking for value, this is definitely one of the go-to value plays. So I'm kind of really looking at this for a retest here tomorrow. We probably won't have it come down that far. Again, if the market starts to gap, this thing is going to gap and start running as well. I think with the news that's come out, a lot of this overhead resistance will probably tear through the resistance, because a lot of these stocks have been beaten down so bad. We might get a very monstrous move to the upside. As far as anything else, I'm trying to think. There really wasn't much else going into tomorrow. SQ's already made a big move. One I do kind of like, or is interesting to me, is Moderna. Now, Moderna killed it, obviously, because of the mandates and everything as far as shots and stuff, vaccines. But it is basing extremely nice here at the 148 mark. It has even tagged even further down here at the 139 mark. So you can even possibly look at 139 for entry for this one. But if it does come in the zone, if you can buy it in the zone and then ride this up, I think this could have a nice pop. Do I think it's going back to all-time highs? No. I think this is another thing that's very misleading is you see this high number, this 464 mark. It's going to go back to 464. These are high inflated numbers, and we've kind of been, everything's been deflated and knocked down because of inflation. So you have to understand that eventually it'll see 464 again at some point, but that is probably a lot further along down the road than you think it is. So that's what I'm saying. If you're buying this for long term, if you believe in the fundamentals of Moderna, that's fine. For me, it's more of a short term swing. But I think in the short term wise, I think once this catches and starts getting some gas, we could probably get a good 40 to 50, possibly even 60-point move out of here in this nice consolidation that's got going on. So that's something I do want to watch and see where we can go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as right now. I think those are my best stock picks for tomorrow. I don't want to make these videos too long. I know I've been making these videos really long because of the fact that there's a lot going on in the market right now. I think the information there in itself is what's valuable because it is swaying the market. Every new article that comes out or perhaps words that Powell speaks is going to affect the market dramatically. Can switch from being in first gear to sixth gear, back down to third gear really fast. So you have to understand that navigating these markets is not the easiest thing to do at the moment. But if you've made it this far, thank you. And go ahead and drop a like button. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.